Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to tonight's Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, August 17th, 2021. Whether you came by boat or canoe or car, we welcome you with open arms. It's been a tough day. So our first order of business is roll call. Madam Clerk, we have Commissioner Abley, Commissioner Taylor, our county manager, our county attorney. We are missing our chairman, Jeff Britton. He is out of county this evening with work-related activities. And also our friend Commissioner Carswell. He is out of town with a family health emergency, so let's keep him in our thoughts and prayers, please. Moving forward, please silence your mobile devices. And if you are here to speak tonight, when you walk up to the microphone, please make sure the red light comes on. Click. Talk into the microphone. Also, I encourage all attendees to wear a mask and to practice social distancing, which all of you are, so that's much appreciated. Our second item of business, we're going to ask our good friend, Pastor David Bridges, to lead us in our invocation. And so if you will stand, and please remain standing after the invocation, because then I want to ask our county attorney to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray together. Lord Jesus, we thank you and praise you for this day that you've blessed us with. Thank you for keeping your hand of protection on our county today through earthquake and through storm. Lord, you truly are our greatest friend. And God, we thank you for all of your blessings today. We pray that you would bless this meeting. Pray that you would bless our commissioners and their families as they endeavor to lead our county into better and greater things, Lord. Let us, in all that we say and all that we do tonight, God, let us never fail to give you the praise and honor that you're worthy of. For we ask it all in the mighty and the wonderful name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Please join me in the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Moving on to our next item of business, approval of the agenda. Gentlemen, the agenda was sent out previously. We have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Abley. All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried, Madam Clerk. Our next item of business is the approval of minutes. Those were sent out previously. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those? We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
Yes, I make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. We have a motion. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen. So tonight, our next item of business, we do have several presentations, and first one, always very exciting. We're going to get a 6-month update from Caitlin Settlemeyer, our Animal Services Director, who has a special friend with her, who's, I think, met everybody in the crowd already. And I think, like I said, that little darling probably will find a home before it leaves tonight, hopefully.
That is our goal. So yeah, I believe everybody has met my presenter, my partner that's presenting with me tonight. His name is Bear. He's an 8-week-old shepherd mix. He's an 8-week-old shepherd mix. He came to us as a little stray puppy. He's been with us about 2 weeks, so he's had 2 vaccines on board. He's extremely healthy, and he's looking for his forever home. He's getting a little lonely in the shelter because there's no one there his size, so somebody needs to take this baby home. Our Animal Services Center is open until 7 o'clock this evening, so if your item comes and goes and you want to come down and adopt him, you're more than welcome to. So I will continue on with our 6-month update from Animal Services. So I will start with our dog comparison, and what I did compare 6 months to 6 months to 6 months for the last several years since 2019. And the reason I did that is because a lot of these seasons really depend upon like our intake. In the wintertime, we don't take in near as many animals as what we do in spring and summer. It was a really good comparison just to kind of keep it at 6 months on what we're seeing, because those seasons really do play in a factor. So as you can see, in 2019, for our dogs, we took in about 515 animals. I'm going to pass off my co-host here. We took in about 515 dogs. Of those, this was prior to whenever we switched hands for animal services. 24 of those were adopted, 259 of those were transferred to a rescue, and 111 of those were returned back to their owners, and there were 112 dogs euthanized during that period. 2020, from January to June, we had an intake of 352. Adopted, we had 77 dogs adopted. We transferred 144 out to rescue groups, returned 94 dogs to their owners, and euthanized 36. So that's a large decrease in our euthanasia rate, which we're pretty proud of. Our intakes have been down since that year as well. We've transitioned to a managed intake model, which we manage the owner surrenders that come in, so we do have space for our strays and our emergency animals that do have to have a place to go within the shelter. And so 2021, which brings us to this year, we took in 332 dogs, adopted 50, transferred 138 out to rescue, returned 114 to their owner, and euthanized 23. On our next page, I just did a little pie chart comparison because I know some people are fairly visual, and you can kind of, I like the yellow portion. I would like to see it decrease, and one day I would like to see there be no yellow portion on that graph. I hope that one day maybe we can get to something that looks like that. So for our cats, the comparative since 2019, there was a large intake of cats. We do have a large intake of cats annually. That is a big problem within our county. So January 1st to June 30th in 2019, they intook 663 cats. They only adopted out 3. They sent 288 cats out to rescue, returned 16 to their owners, and euthanized 304. January 2020 to June 2020, we took in 397, adopted out 119, transferred 74 out to rescue groups, returned 7 to their owners, and euthanized 141. And in 2021, we incorporated a new TNR program, and this started in March. And we were able to, since March, we've been able to, from March to June, we were able to spay and neuter 87 community cats to hopefully eventually reduce the overall cat population out and decrease the number of cats coming into our care. But we've still taken in 569 in the first 6 months. We adopted 91, transferred 225 to rescue, sent 7 back to their owner, and only euthanized 84. So there's the pie chart comparison as well. Our live release rate, so this is calculated just looking at the animals that leave our care through disposition, whether that's adoption, euthanasia, things like that, and you take your number of animals that leave your organization through live outcomes, so through adoptions, through return to owners, versus all disposition, so that includes euthanasia. So in 2019, only 50% of the cats and 78% of the dogs left animal services alive. In 2020, 59% of cats and 90% of dogs left in live outcomes. And in 2021, which is where we are now, we're up to 83% of our cats leaving our care and 93% of our dogs. So we are pretty proud of that. We are working very hard to find live outcomes for our cats, but it's really a community effort, having our community members step up, come to animal services, figure out ways that you can help and be a part of all these changes. I do have an animal enforcement update because we recently took that over. We took that over in September of last year, so we've been at it almost a year. Those first few months, of course, we were trying to figure out good ways of mapping, and some of these numbers are still a little skewed for April because we were trying to figure out different areas of the county, which I think we finally got it down. But you can read through here the areas of interest and what the nature of calls that we're running. So the majority of our calls that we're running are within the Conley Springs and Salem communities. And the majority of these tend to be bite reports, running at large, and nuisance calls. So that's for like dogs barking, dogs getting into chicken pens and stuff like that. So you can see the reports for April. May, it's pretty similar. Conley Springs and Salem seem to have the majority of calls run for our animal enforcement officers. And they are running about 75 calls a month, 75 to 90 calls a month. And in June, of course, spring and summer are also always very, very busy with animals moving. Conley Springs, Salem, and Valdez were our tops then, but the amount of bites that happen within our community is something that we are trying to figure out ways to address, so hopefully we can decrease that in the future. And that is my report.
Caitlin, great report. Questions or comments from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, Caitlin, I noticed the nature of your calls. I was a little surprised that the largest number falls under the category of bite reports. My question would probably be, can we identify that to what kind of dog is doing? Can we classify it and deal with that breed of dog? Or
It's not necessarily a breed, it's more of a situational type of thing, and that's what we've been trying to track is the number of situations that these bites are happening, whether it's a dog-on-dog fight and somebody sticks their hand in, somebody's trying to move an aggressive animal, but it is not breed specific. We've not seen any pattern associated with breeds. But yeah, it is a pretty alarming number. There are a lot of bite calls, which is something we're a little concerned with on how to handle and as we go forward.
any serious claims or anything?
Some of them have been pretty substantial, and then if they meet the criteria, we move into the deeming process if the dogs do meet that criteria. And some of these are cat bites as well. Cats like to bite too.
Okay, thank you. It was just alarming that it's up into close to the 60 number
Yeah.
bracket. So it's, another month you'll have 100, won't you?
I think if our county manager holds that dog much longer, he's gonna have his 5th pound dog. And if it's shown on camera one more time, I'm gonna get a text from my wife saying, bring it home. Thank you, Caitlin.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to accept this report as rendered.
All those in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. And we do have several more presentations, the next being presented by Margaret Pierce, our Deputy County Manager and Finance Director, on recognition of employee for completion of SOG Certified Government Chief Information Officers Program. That is a mouthful.
Scott is here. He actually is one of 45 IT professionals in the state of North Carolina who completed this course this year. This is the Certified Government Chief Information Officer course is the first local government program in the nation specific for Chief Information Officers. It was begun here in 2005. It's designed for local government information technology directors and their Chief Information Officers to learn more about, gain a broad understanding of management, leadership, legal, regulatory, and enterprising topics related to information technology. It's approximately 240 hours. It covers an entire year, and Scott managed to do this and never miss a beat at work, keep everything going. He just trucked right on. This was the first year they did it completely virtually, which is always a challenge in and of itself. And we would like to present Scott Black with this certificate from the School of Government, University of North Carolina, and congratulate him on completion.
Let's let Scott say a few, would you like to say a few comments? You're not used to being in front of the camera, I know.
Right, yeah, it's nice to be in the back room. I just thank you for the opportunity to take this course. I found it really valuable, and learning, getting a chance to interact with other peers from across the state. And actually, we had several people from Texas and New Jersey and other programs as well participating. So it was a good opportunity to learn from them, to hear their experiences and all of that. And I'm looking forward to just trying to apply those things I've learned and improve the county's technology.
It's fantastic. Any of the commissioners like to
Mr. Chairman,
comment?
it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, but I do have a little concern there, Scott.
What's that?
That black hair is disappearing, it's turning gray. I didn't know that hard work.
It has.
But I do say congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, on behalf of the board, that's a fantastic accomplishment. I know what you do on a daily basis and the hours you spend, and the changes that come down the pipe, especially in your department. And I don't know how you carve out 240 hours to be able to do that, so we're super impressed, and I know that took a lot of diligence to do, so congratulations. Thank you so much. And commissioners, I think we should step down there and get a picture if you don't mind.
We are joined by his wife and parents this evening, so we're going to try to have them as well. Okay, let's say cheese. Anybody, family want to come up and take a photo? Oh, I'll just take a photo. Yes, please, come on. Look at, yes. Awesome. Come on, Jill. Come on.
We do have a third presentation that will be presented by our county manager, Mr. Brian Steen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As you know, I routinely work with superstars every day. Of course, all my county commissioners are superstars. And we have the opportunity to celebrate and to acknowledge the accomplishments of another county employee, now retired, with the Longleaf Pine Award. And you remember Monty Hall and the Price is Right, and come on down, Rebecca McLeod. Tonight is your night. And I think you can actually apply for a special license tag that says you're a winner of the Longleaf Pine if you want to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You want to get your folks up here? And there was some co-conspirators. I don't know if they want to be recognized in helping to bring this about, but I guess we'll just have a plausible deniability, they call that. But anyways, congratulations. Thank you for your service to the county, and we wish you well in your retirement. Yay.
I'm enjoying it. I think when I left here, at the end of June. I said all I could say, but I'm very honored and humbled. I mean, I would never, there's a lot more people who are deserving. But thank you for whoever went to the trouble to do this. And I'm glad Johnny's not here because he'd tell me not to cry. So, thank you.
Congratulations on behalf of the board. It's
Thank you
well
very much.
deserved for all your accomplishments and all you've given to the community.
So thank you very much. Thank you.
I still have that ball and chain.
I know.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 7. We have 3 presentations tonight scheduled for public hearings. The first being Building Reuse Grant for Project Husky 2, and this will be presented by Alan Wood, our BDI President and CEO. How you doing, Alan?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
there's 3 notes on the next 3 public hearings. They've desired the board could table this item until August 24th, 2021, 3 p.m. so that all the commissioners could be present. Since we're missing 2, I'd like to make a motion that we put those off till all our commissioners are here.
And we can table those if so.
It says right on the side of the,
But we would still need to hold a public hearing, but make that motion after we go through, because we need to have the presentation, then I'll have to open and close the public hearing. Then at that point, please make that motion after each item. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Okay, yeah, so yes, I agree with you. Absolutely. Alex?
Thank you, Commissioners. We have Project Husky, which is continuation or the second effort of this company. They had a building reuse previously. They have met all the terms and conditions on that, and it has been closed. They made the hires, they did the work. It's been closed out. This is a continuation for that company. The grant will be submitted for $500,000 by the town of Hildebrand, which would be the requester of that. We're asking that Burke County partner with them and share in the 5% match, would be $12,500. There are 60 jobs that are tied to this grant. Those jobs will pay higher than the county average wage, and that they will pay at least half of their health care expense. So at the current time, they pay all of their employees' health care expense. But as a part of the grant, they're required to pay at least half. This company saw 100% growth last year, and I have no doubt that they'll continue to see this type growth. It's been very substantial what they've done and what they're bringing to Stokes County. I'm sorry, Burke County. I keep forgetting where I am.
Stokes County. We like Stokes County as well.
I just saw a pet that was up for adoption, so it had me on my mind. I apologize for that.
That's okay. Any questions or comments to Alan?
Mr. Chairman, just a comment or two. I talked to somebody a couple of days ago about this company and what it had done for Hildebrand. And Alan, it was a big shot in the arm for them, and took over a building that many jobs had reduced, had left a lot of people were needing work. And it's so glad to see that they're growing at the point that they're already doing another grant and adding a lot more employees. I believe it said 50. Did I read 60?
60.
Be creating 60 additional jobs with this addition. So we joyfully receive them and thank them for choosing Burke County.
I will pass that on.
Thank you.
Alan, if we do decide to defer this item so all the commissioners can be present to vote, is that going to hinder any timeline whatsoever?
No.
So that would be fine to handle that
Yeah,
on the 24th?
it will be fine. I think it's 24th. Is that when it would be?
It is?
Yeah, that would not impact it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, was that a request from the other commissioners?
It's available if the board wants to do that. If not, you're certainly welcome to act on it this evening, just whatever's the board's pleasure.
And
Well, I can see that applying, if we're talking millions of dollars, $12,500, we want to postpone it. Is that your desire, Wayne?
I think so. I think it's something the other commissioners would enjoy being part of.
I have no problem either.
All right, thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
At this point, I will open the public meeting at this time. Is there anyone here to speak to this? If there is no one, I will close the public hearing at this point and ask the gentleman, what's your pleasure? Commissioner Abley?
Well, we just about went about the whole thing, so maybe we ought to go ahead and vote on it. I mean, we just about went through all the motions here and whatever, so let's go ahead and vote on that one.
Okay. Do we
I
have,
need a motion
please?
to approve. Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to approve a general fund appropriation of up to $12,500 for economic development incentive for Project Husky 2 for the county's portion of the local grant match pending notification of the building reuse grant award.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Taylor. All those in favor, state by showing your uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 3-0. Okay, we have our next public hearing is going to be zoning map amendment ZMA 2021-09, presented by Shane Prisby, our interim planning director. Shane, how are you this day?
Doing well, Mr. Vice Chairman. Yourself?
Great, great.
Thank you all. Thank you, members of the board. The Burke County Community Development Department received a request from Mayor Gibbs to rezone an 8.48 acre parcel from its current zoning of residential 2 or R2 to the General Business Zoning District, or GB. The parcel, identified as Reed 20012, is located just outside of the Morganton city limits along NC 18 US 64 and does not currently have a 911 address. The parcel has 870 feet of road frontage, is located within the Quaker Meadows Township and Chesterfield Fire Districts, and is next to an existing convenience store at 900 Lenore Road, Morganton. Records show that the parcel can be served by public water and private on-site septic. The area surrounding the parcel is identified as a secondary growth area in the county's strategic land use plan. There is a mix of residential and non-residential uses immediately around the parcel, and it is situated next to the property owned by Tyler Campbell that the board voted to rezone a portion of to general business at last month's regular meeting. The planning board voted 5-1 to approve and recommend the rezoning request to the Board of Commissioners for their consideration. No one from the public spoke for or against the item at the planning board meeting. However, there have been 2 emails submitted in opposition to the rezoning. It is staff's opinion that the rezoning request would not change the overall character of the area. There are several parcels in the immediate vicinity zoned general and neighborhood business, as well as an existing gas station and convenience store. The mixed residential use of the area is in keeping with the goals outlined in the strategic land use plan for this area. Thank you, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Gentlemen?
Mr. Chairman, we had a letter of opposition emailed to the commissioners with what I feel is a very serious concern. And the questions I wanted to ask, number one, they're right away from their part, they have property behind this property. Is that right away their own right away, or do they have a grant or permission to use that as a right of way?
Mr. Taylor, I have looked for the deed of right-of-way for the parcel. I believe it's the Arnett's. It's the one immediately behind the parcel in question tonight. I have not been able to find that documentation in their deed or the deeds prior. That does not mean that that document does not exist. I was just not able to locate it. So I can't speak to the specifics of the right-of-way that they have for that parcel because I've not been able to read it myself.
Is it possible if we vote this in, that these business owners could block that driveway to those residents?
That would depend on if there is existing right-of-way. If the right-of-way is already granted and it runs with the land, then that is in perpetuity, and they would not be able to do so. If the situation exists where the right-of-way is not filed, does not exist legally, the landowner would be able to control access to and from the property, and they would not, the landowners behind the parcel would not have the right of ingress or egress. That being said, they have an option to either work it out with the landowners to make sure they have connection to the road, or it would become a civil matter that they would have to settle in court.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the business owners could close that road and keep them from using that right away to 64.
If there is no legal right-of-way, technically, they would have that ability, but the landowners behind would no longer have legal access to their property, and they would be able to sue, bring a civil suit to get right-of-way. So there would be other avenues for that, but without knowing the specifics of what their deeded right-of-way is, I can't really speak to that. I'm just talking about the different situations if that came up, or what could or could not happen.
Okay, us as a government entity, the zoning board, do we have a recourse to say that this right-of-way, let's assume it's a legal right-of-way, must be maintained open for fire trucks, rescue quads, et cetera, and egress and ingress to this piece of property? When you rezone something, can we include that into that rezoning article?
With the adoption of North Carolina's Unified Zoning Statute 160D, conditional zonings are no longer allowed, or rezonings are no longer allowed, so we would not be able to put conditions on a rezoning. That being said, we do have standards that need to be met, particularly for subdivision of land that require certain right-of-ways depending on how many parcels are being served by that road, and it would obviously need to meet the bare minimum standards for safety.
Okay. Aside from this piece of property, just a question, I have been to places where they rectangularly marked the right-of-way with a big sign on it, you know, that this right-of-way has to remain open for exactly what I said a while ago, you know, for emergency equipment, for egress, ingress, for fire trucks, and so on and so forth. Could you look into that a little bit for us and see
Certainly,
see if something like that is available, or and should we recommend it or should we not? That would be a decision your board would need to make, I think.
In question, I believe you're speaking about the Arnett's issues, particularly with the access they have, their current road, and there is another parcel behind them that is served by the same access for ingress and egress. It kind of splits the difference and it comes into the gas station where it's at. This is a road that I drive fairly regularly. I have family down Piedmont Road, and to be frank, before this rezoning came before us, I never knew there was a driveway back there. So I specifically went and looked at it the last time I drove by there, and there is the gate and there's the access. But I do agree that some sort of signage or other advertisement that is a private access to homes would go a long way to help keep that clear. There are potentially things that could be done with road striping in the parking lot, or other options to make sure that their ingress and egress is not impeded by people coming to the gas station and convenience store. Some of that would have to be worked out with whatever the legally allowable deed of right-of-way is, as well as with the landowners in conjunction. That would be Mrs. Gibbs and her family and everybody else who owns the parcel questioned before you tonight, as well as the owners of the gas station, and working that out with the Arnetts and the parcel that is behind them as well.
Okay. Thank you, that's all the questions I have on that.
Any other questions or comments? And gentlemen, this is on this and the next rezoning issue. If desired and we want more information, we are going to have a recess to August 24th next week, so he could gather some of that information and get you a little more clarity on that, I think, for both these items. But tonight, because we're starting to get feedback on both these items, emails, calls, and so after the public hearing, if y'all desire to do that, we can do that and recess it out a week, give us a little more time.
So we do have to do
But we are going to hold the public
the,
meeting.
yeah,
Yes,
you
sir.
have to have the open hearing today,
Absolutely.
public hearing.
Shane, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Okay. At this point, I'll open the public meeting. Is there anyone here to speak to this item?
Mr. Vice Chairman, Miss Susan Lael has pre-registered to speak.
Good evening, Ms. Lowe.
I'm here to represent the owners of the Lenore property that we're discussing about rezoning. There are 6 of us. 4 of us are cousins. One is spouse of a cousin that we've lost. Our family's been in Burke County. Our grandmother was born in the 1800s in Burke County. So we've been here a long time. Most of us have spent a good portion of our lives in Burke County. So we appreciate you considering rezoning this for us. I'm here to answer some questions if I can. There may be some things that I will not be able to answer tonight, but I would certainly get those answers for you if you needed them.
Gentlemen?
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, are you allowing us to ask this lady?
Yes.
What's your general plans for that
Well,
property when you expand it?
Well, we have 6 people to need to agree on this, so we've had some discussions. We tried to look at it as with some residential options, the way it was originally zoned, and we really didn't have any good ideas for that yet. So we thought we'd see if it would be available for commercial use, and then we'd see what options we had for that. We've also had some people in the community say they'd like to see a nice restaurant there. I own commercial and residential property in this county and in Burke, in Catawba, and Caldwell. So we have some office rental space, commercial, that would be, I think, come within the guidelines. And then we have a cousin that has commercial restaurant experience there, but we've also had a good suggestion that we discuss this with a planning company that would help us lay out and see what the community needs, maybe get some more community input, people that we don't have contact with. So that's what we're looking at.
So your purpose for rezoning is you're just not right sure what you're going to do with it, but until you get it rezoned, it's impossible to go.
Yeah, it might give us some more options, because we weren't really, I think it was suggested that we could divide it up into 14 smaller lots, but that didn't really seem to be something that the group wanted to do. Someone suggested with residential, we could do mobile homes. At the time, that wasn't something that the group was interested in doing either. They wanted to explore some other commercial things, but we didn't want to move forward with any plans or any investment in plans until we were sure that it was okay with the county and the community, that we could consider those things.
One more question, and you can say, I want to think about it. You don't have to answer it today.
Okay.
How do you see your firm or your corporation protecting the easement for the residents behind that property?
Well, this is a family, except one spouse, but this is a family, so we have been talking about it as a family, and we want to be good neighbors. We've always grown up like that in Burke County. We talk things out, work things out. So I don't really, none of us would want to deny access to someone to their homes.
So you don't see any problems if y'all designated a right-of-way and marking it and making sure they can get it?
I have 3 other owner cousins here. I don't think any of them would say there would be a problem. It's been there for many years. You know, we've been neighbors for a long time, even though we've not lived on that particular piece of property, and they have. So now the front of that entrance, I believe, comes in on the Marathon Oil property, Burke Properties. So part of it may be up to them too. But I tried to look, with no experience, but I tried to look for what Shane was looking for and found a few things, but they didn't seem to be germane to what we were talking about tonight. So I think it's going to take some investigation about what paperwork we already have and what we need, but I don't see any reason why we would not consider a right-of-way or signage or something that would help them get to their homes.
Thank you. Your response has satisfied my
Thank you,
questions.
Mrs. Lau. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak to this? There being none, I will close the meeting. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure? Would you at this time like to table this item till August 24th, 2021?
Mr. Chairman, ask Madam Clerk a question. In talking with the other commissioners, did they voice a concern that they wanted this delayed or that they'd like to take part in the?
No, staff is just merely providing options for you to consider.
Okay.
And it being a situation where it is a rezoning, you know, I'd mentioned it to Brian because I have no idea how anybody feels about it, but, you know, and the rezoning is always of most important, so I think having, you know, as many commissioners there as possible is what I believe.
Mr. Chairman, Shane, can you work with the responses that we've heard and to kind of ensure that this is a smooth transaction and those people will be protected on the right of way as according to the law, not our law, but to the law?
Yes, Mr. Taylor, and any decision that, or Commissioner Taylor, and anything that came through our board would go through our site process. And I have met with some of the landowners, and as they've said tonight, they do seem willing to figure out a solution for that. So I think, yes, we'd be able to work with them within what we can do. As I said, we can't do it conditional, but that would be a decision they would have to make as far as either if they legally could block access, but I don't get the sense from exactly what they just said that that's an interest that they have as a group. So we'll work with them to make sure that it works out and within the bounds of our new zoning ordinance, which has a lot more considerations for landscaping, for screening, for roads, parking, ingress and egress for any commercial development than it had prior to the adoption by this board.
Shane, thank you. Madam Clerk, I think we will table this. It looks like it's the desire of the commissioners to our recess meeting on August 24th.
Motion.
We do need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Abley. All those in favor, Commissioner Abley's motions, statements, raising your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 3-0. Thank you. All right, we've got one more public hearing tonight, and it is another zoning map amendment, ZMA 2021-10, presented by Shane again.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board. Burke County Community Development Department received a request from Mickey Evans to rezone 2 parcels totaling 1.14 acres from their current zoning of residential 2 or R2 to the general business zoning district or GB. The two parcels have been combined into a single parcel. However, the property records have not been updated yet to reflect this change. Parcels are identified as read number 59578 and read number 59577 and do not currently have 911 addresses. They are located at the end of Ashton Drive, a private dead-end street with a 45-foot right-of-way. They are also adjacent to Mr. Evans' contracting business located at 2646 Raintree Street, Connolly Springs. Mr. Evans is requesting that the rezoning with the intent of establishing a storage yard for his contracting business on this property. Records indicate that his existing business is being served by public water and private on-site septic. The area surrounding the parcel is predominantly high-density residential in character. The only non-residential uses in the area are Mr. Evans' contracting business, zone general business, and another adjacent parcel on the corner of nearby Eichard Roadhouse Road, which is zoned industrial. The county's strategic land use plan identifies this area as a rural agricultural area, which is a designation given to any area outside of the primary and secondary growth areas. Mr. Evans' business has long been established at its current location, but is also surrounded by single-family dwellings. The rezoning request originated from a complaint from a neighbor when Mr. Evans expanded his business onto the properties in question. The code enforcement investigation of the complaint found that the new contractor storage yard on the property was in violation of the R2 zoning allowances. This prompted Mr. Evans to seek a rezoning to bring the storage yard into compliance. And the question at the heart of this rezoning request is whether the proposed storage yard will have a negative impact on the surrounding property owners. On one hand, the land use plan allows for a variety of residential and non-residential uses, as Mr. Evans' existing business has been at its current location for a long time. On the other hand, the area has become a dense cluster of single-family homes, and even with the screening requirements, the daily operation of the contractor storage yard could bring additional impact that did not previously exist, such as dust, odor, and noise. The planning board voted 4-2 to approve and recommend the rezoning request to the board for consideration. There were no public comments for or against the request at the meeting. However, the planning board was presented with an email opposing the rezoning. Thank you very much. I'll entertain any questions you may have on this item.
Okay, any questions or comments for Shane, gentlemen?
Mr. Chairman, this is just a little bit different than the other one. This is a guy wanting to comply with the zoning, and it's been there for, I know more than 20 years, so it's not new. And I understand some of the concerns that are listed, but those concerns have been there for 20, 30 years. They did develop isn't it the Raintree development, Raintree housing that's just next door. His dad developed that, so. I believe on this one, the evidence of longevity being in business there kind of mandates if we follow suit and let him to come into compliance. But his request.
How many houses are in there, Shane?
Immediately in the area? I'm not sure of the exact number from there, but as you can see, it's quite dense. Right next to it, there's parcels. There are homes just to the north, across the street. Adjacent to it, the complainant's home is just past Ashton Drive, and that would be south and west. And there are parcels on Ashton Street as well with homes. So there are several homes in immediate vicinity of the existing contracting business and the active storage yard as well. And then the neighborhoods in and around the area. I would venture in this photo at least probably 24 homes.
Jane, you might want to clarify this road to that back piece. 90% of the traffic comes in from off the main road, does not come off of the development road. The road is behind. It's, I don't know, what is that, 200 feet west of the entrance to the development.
Yes, my understanding is that, that Mr. Evans' business is accessing the property from Raintree and through the property and not directly up Ashton Drive. There's currently a fence around it, I believe it's a chain link. If this were to go to general business, it would be qualified as a outdoor storage area. So that fence would not be in compliance when they submit through the site plan. The new zoning ordinance does require a minimum of 8-foot fence for a outdoor storage yard. That would be either a fence or a masonry screening wall. That is a minimum. I believe that they could go higher, but that would be a building code question about what the maximum height would be. They would not be allowed to store any material above that height, whatever that fence ends up being, but a minimum of 8 feet of a solid fence around the property.
And your board did approve this recommendation, correct? This rezoning?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Taylor?
Your board, the zoning board, approved this.
Correct, they did. They voted to recommend this to you all for consideration.
I guess one of my concerns is just, understand what Commissioner Taylor's saying, but just because somebody's been out of compliance for years doesn't mean we have to put them into compliance. So different ways to look at that. Any other questions or comments for Shane? Not, thank you, Shane.
Very much.
I will now open the public meeting at this time. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue?
Mr. Vice Chairman, Ms. Terry Swanson, pre-registered to speak.
How are you, Ms. Swanson?
I'm good, thank you. I just wanted to come in person tonight. When this came up to vote last time, I'd sent an email, and as Shane talked about, it did vote, and they voted 4-2 to go ahead. We live directly beside of where Mr. Evans has had his business. He has purchased this lot a little over a year ago and turned it from residential into commercial himself without any zoning. As a businessman, I think he would have been well versed in the zoning regulations and have known what he was doing was outside of compliance, but he went ahead and did it anyway. That makes me really nervous that if this board would pass and ask him to go further, that he would kind of take it upon himself to do as he had with this and go forward. We purchased this land about 13 years ago to put our home on it when George Gregg had went to the county to ask that it be rezoned from business to commercial at that time. I'm sorry, from residential to commercial at that time. They turned him down. He wanted to park his transfer trucks on it, and they turned it down. So that opened it for us to be able to build our home there, and we actually bought enough land for our daughter and son-in-law to build behind us. They have recently bought their house plans, and we're going to build back there, and then the price of lumber went up, and this is there. I have some pictures that you could see. There are very large pieces of work equipment, dump truck and excavation equipment that start in the mornings and they go throughout the day, all day long. I've been working at home for over a year, and you can hear the noises inside my house with the door shut, the banging and the clanging of the trucks when they beat out the dump trucks. The property is not just being stored. I mean, it's not just a nice view that you're seeing. They're dumping very, very high mounds of commercial waste. It looks like old pavement, and they've made roads up on it and just continue to dump it higher and higher, probably 15, 20 feet or more high in the back of our property. There's sometimes more than one truck at a time bringing in loads and dumping them. There's dust that comes in from it, the loud noise. About a week ago, I actually called Shane because I had my grandsons out by our pool, and there was this just overwhelming like chemical odor of like paving stuff. And it was something new that they were dumping there. And I literally had to take my grandsons inside the house because, I mean, they couldn't stay outside and play in that. It's just when the weather's dry, it's dusty. It's just not nice to have it in your backyard. Due to all of these things. Like I said, I have pictures if you'd like to see them. I just would very much like to ask that you would vote not to go forward with this, to have him move it back to the condition it was. He has been there for a long time. I agree, we knew he was there when we built the house there. And where he's at, it didn't bother us at all. He would take his trucks in and out to his side, park them, but dumping the materials that he's dumping is just not suitable in a residential area. It's just not nice. I don't think either one of you would want it beside of your house if you were to see what's behind mine. And so I would very respectfully ask that you not vote for it to be beside of mine. That's really all I have, unless you have questions or would like to see the pictures.
Go, we see the pictures, please.
Yep. I did some of these today. These are the ones where there are two dump trucks parking, where
I'll have these now.
Does that development have a zoning or home development?
Mine is not I'm not in a development. I'm actually on a parcel of land that's right beside of his parcel. So Tommy Blanton actually owned like a 2.5 acre lot, and then we bought a 2.25 acre lot from George Gregg, and he had another 2.25 acre lot beside of us, and then a third 2.5 acre lot. So this is, it's just our lot, and like I said, the lot that we purchased for our daughter and son-in-law to build their house on. And the house that they're looking to build is about a $270,000 house, and it would literally be right beside where they're dumping 20 feet of asphalt. You can see.
A sub-question for that. Do you know if your neighbors or the development that was done, I don't know, 30 years ago?
Braintree?
Yeah. Do they have conditions that protect homes, whatever, that would?
I don't know, but they're beside of the business where he just parks his trucks. So there's really no mess there.
I'm very familiar with.
Yeah, and so where he's put it is on the other side of on the other side, and like I said, it's not just parking. It's not just parking. It's mounds and mounds and mounds of debris. It's a mess.
Ms. Swanson, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Mickey Evans with Evans Construction. I own the construction company. And, we've been there 50 years this year, and we've never had a complaint with anybody around our business. Speaking of the material, it's nothing but asphalt, which asphalt's out here everywhere. I ended up bringing in, and we repurposed the asphalt and sell it for people to put on driveways and parking on some roads. It's nothing harmful or anything, it's just asphalt. Before we had it here, we did stockpile gravel and stuff, so we had it rounded up, but we never did have any complaints of anything. So, our business is growing now, and we just need the space to store materials. And, we try to be a good neighbor with everybody. If they got a problem, we take care of it. And, we need to put up some kind of a barrier or something, we can do that. I just want to say that we're good neighbors, and, if somebody has a problem, we try to take care of it. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Having a sound problem? Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? If If not, this public hearing is closed. Gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board? Do we want to make a motion, or do we want to table this?
Mr. Chairman, first, could I ask Mickey Evans a question, please? Mickey, you said something about a petition or something, some type of protection. Could you elaborate on that a little bit? Well, I think the comment was that to put up some kind of barrier fence in the fence, we could do that. We could put up Leland cypress if that's something that could, that they want done. Yeah, I understand. I don't live but a couple miles from it, so, I don't want our neighbors not satisfied. And would that be helpful? With that?
My wish is that it wouldn't go through because of the type of materials that's there. The reason I didn't complain earlier, as Mr. Evans had talked about, he had gravel there.
Oh, Mr. Evans.
When he said he had gravel there were small piles of gravel, and it didn't cause the issue. They put up a fence, I was fine with that in the area. What's causing the issue are the huge mounds of the black concrete, whatever cement stuff, driveway paving. It's very unsightly. It causes an odor. There's a lot of dust. When they're backing up into that, like I said, there's 2 or 3 at a time sometimes, and they're beating the things out, and I can hear it inside my house. It would almost have to be, to stop anything like that, would almost have to be some kind of a cement barrier or something. And as tall as it is right now, there's probably 15 or 20 feet of this stuff that I can see from my back porch. I don't know if the fence is 6 foot or 8 foot high, but it doubles that. You could see that in the picture. So unless there's a 20-foot cement barricade between there and our house, it's not going to stop the noise or the dust or the view. It's not going to fix the view back. When we bought that, it was a very nice, just a wooded area, residential and very nice. So.
Ms. Swanson, thank you. Mr. Adams, thank you.
Well, the material, like I say, is just asphalt, and it's not anything harmful. And we could maybe move it to a different side of the property or something, if that would help. We'll try to do whatever we can.
Thank you. At this point, gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, the board has approved it, the county manager has approved it, and therefore I make the motion to adopt an ordinance number 2021-17 as it relates to ZMA 2021-10 and the following consistency statement. The rezone is consistent with the county land use plan and would allow an existing business to expand and further serve the citizens of Burke County.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Taylor. All those in favor of Commissioner Taylor's motion, state by raising the uplifted hand. Those opposed? Motion did not carry, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk?
We believe that you need a motion to deny since the motion didn't
Okay.
pass.
Commissioner Abley, would you make that motion then? They said that we need a motion to deny the rezoning request.
So move.
Okay. It has been moved by Commissioner Abley to deny the rezoning request and approve the following
Mr.
consistency
Vice Chair,
statement.
there's a consistency statement that goes with the motion to deny as well.
And this is, although the Burke County Land Use Plan expects various uses, including non-residential uses within the rural agricultural planting area, the proposed general business zoning has strong potential to negatively impact the surrounding residential properties and residential area due to the specific use proposed or the multitude of allowed uses by right within the table of uses. All those in favor of Commissioner Abley's motion, statement, with the uplifted hand? Those opposed? Motion carried, 2-1. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, now we can move on to item number 8, informal public comments. Each speaker has 3 minutes to come up and speak. I would ask the speakers to state their name and address for the record, and like I said, try to keep their comments to 3 minutes. And do we have any speakers, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I have several people who signed up to speak in advance, and I left my list at the other buildings, but I think I've got them all. Mr. John Flood is the first name on the list.
My name is John Flood. I live at 2411 Mountain Laurel Trail, Morganton. I've lived here since 1984. I'm here to speak about the removal of the Confederate statue. I've tried to get this to 3 minutes for a long time with a timer, and I haven't made it yet, so I guess you'll cut me off. I think that this is a very important decision for our community. It is a decision that states, that reflects our welcoming of all citizens of this county, a sense of inclusion of all citizens of this county, which the presence of that statute precludes for a lot of people in this county. I'm a child of the South. My mother's grandparents fought for the Confederacy. My grandmother taught me the love of the South. She taught me the love of family. She taught me the love of everything Southern. She told me that the South didn't lose the war. It was overpowered. She taught me that there wasn't really a civil war. There was a war of Northern aggression. She taught me that the war was not about slavery. It was about states' rights. I was raised in Live Oak, Florida, partially by a black woman who gave us love and caring and comfort. I experienced the generosity of black men who helped me in tobacco and watermelon fields by coming back and doing part of my row. The children of the woman who helped raise my sister and I could not go to the same schools. They couldn't eat in the same restaurants. She couldn't ride in the front seat of my mother's car. I learned more about Jesus Christ from our yard man, J.C. Lester, than I've met from any other human being I've ever known. I was told that these people were lazy, they were violent, they were immoral, they wanted things for nothing. I watched a black man get beaten in front of me for drinking out of a white water fountain. I saw enough hatred in my childhood forever. This is a product of slavery, which was Americans' original sin, in my opinion, where one race feels that it's superior to another race that's inferior and has the right to hold them in bondage, to sell them on public auctions, to beat them, to dehumanize them, to degrade them. This whole institution was stopped by a bloody civil war. More than 600,000 people were killed, which was all about slavery. And if you don't believe that, do some research about the 1820s through the 1860s, where the Missouri Compromise, all kinds of legislation was passed to try and stop the breakup of this country. After the Civil War, there was a period of Reconstruction and then a period of where the white people of the South began to reassert their supremacy. There was a lot of mob violence in that period of time. 300 black people were killed in Tulsa, Oklahoma by a white mob. 60 black people were killed in Wilmington, Delaware, and Wilmington, North Carolina, 1898. There were poll taxes and all kinds of schemes to keep black people from voting. That's the era when that statute was raised. It was put on public property, given the sanction of the state, and it took the state of South Carolina 200 years to remove the Confederate flag from their, almost 200 years, from their Capitol grounds because a white supremacist stood in front of the Confederate flag and issued his manifesto of hate, and then went and killed a whole bunch of black people at a prayer meeting that they had invited him into. And the state of South Carolina finally got it and said, this is a symbol, I guess, of racism and violence, and it is not fit for our public property. We have had violence almost in this community by a bunch of thugs that came here with automatic weapons in front of that statute, and they were willing to take human life over that statute. You need to put yourself in the shoes of black people out of our white, which is hard for us to do. That statute has been in every town I've ever lived in. We need to step outside of our white experience and put yourself in the shoes of a black person for whom that statute represents people who fought for keeping their people in bondage. And it's time for that statute to go. It's time for us to say, we do not embrace that for every person in this community. And I will say to you that you probably won't do that. I don't think you will. But I will say to you that it's going to go because it's the right thing to do, and right bears out over the long term. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flood.
Malachi Pearson. Miss Carla Kincaid.
Good evening. I'm here once again, not several times. This was only the fourth time. Newspapers that I've been here several times. It's hard to get 3 minutes in, just like the gentleman said, in reference to Confederacy, and I'll have to stand until the end, and that's how I am. Good evening. My name is Carla Kincaid. I live on the great highway of 126, headed to Lake James, Ponta Flora area. And I'm just going to do a little excerpt from Whose Heritage, and this is from the Southern Poverty Law Center. And this was in February 2019. And it states that the Civil War ended 158 years ago. The Confederacy was on the wrong side of humanity. The 2015 massacre of 9 African Americans at the historic Mother Emanuel, which I'm an AME or AME church, in Charleston, South Carolina, sparked a nationwide movement to remove Confederate monuments, flags, and other symbols from the public square, and to rename schools, parks, roads, and other public works that pay homage to Confederacy. Many of these monuments are protected by state laws in the former Confederate states, which North Carolina is one of. Others are shielded by civic leaders who refuse to act in the face of a strong backlash by white Southerners who are still enthralled by the myth of the lost cause and the revisionist history that these monuments represent. In this article, the monuments were referred to as cult of the lost cause. That cult, which was stated by the mayor of New Orleans, he said, had one goal, through monuments and through other means, to rewrite history to hide the truth, which is that the Confederacy was on the wrong side of humanity. Communities across the land were encouraged to reflect on the true meaning of these symbols and really ask the question, whose heritage do they really, truly represent? Quoting the mayor of New Orleans, these statues are not just stone and metal. They are not just innocent remembrance of a dying history. These monuments purposely celebrate a fictional, sanitized Confederacy, ignoring the death, ignoring the enslavement, and the terror that it actually stood for. After being indoctrinated online into the world of white supremacy, inspired by a racist hate group, Dylan Roof told friends he wanted to start a race war. Someone had to take the drastic action to take America back from stupid and violent African Americans, he wrote. Then on June 17, 2015, attended a Bible study meeting at the historic Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and murdered 9 people, all of them black. And then the movement quickly began to focus on symbols beyond the flag. The effort to remove the statues and symbols is more than about symbolism. It's about starting a conversation about the values and the beliefs shared by a community. And in this case that we're speaking of is the Burke County community. And it's about acknowledging the injustices of the past as we address those of today, are yet still on the wrong side of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kincaid.
Pastor George Logan.
Good evening, I'm George Logan. I live at 101 Inglewood Drive, Morganton, North Carolina. Dear Commissioners, John 15:13 says, "Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends." It has now been approximately 7 months since we've approached you all, petitioning you to remove the Confederate monument, along with the soldier that sits atop of it. We've heard passionate arguments from both sides. Most of us who dare to speak and to share are putting our lives on hold for those few minutes we stand before you. But I wonder what it would be like if we all took a step back and considered what it would be like if we laid down our lives for our community. I wonder what it would be like if we took the time to get to know those who are in opposition to us. If we met on neutral ground to find out more about one another. It would be wonderful to know what we have in common with one another. Could it be that we attended the same schools, have children the same age, share the same love of the outdoors, cars, golf, shopping, etc., and perhaps even share the same faith and love of Christ? After having approached one another for the purposes of getting to know one another, we may be more inclined to listen to one another with hearts of compassion and understanding. And quite possibly, we may even dare to lay down our lives and choose to become friends rather than enemies. Our end game should be that of unity without sacrificing our values. While it seems as though the world around us is hemorrhaging because of many divides, maybe, just maybe, we can show our nation and quite possibly the world how we chose to walk in love in order to make Burke County and Morganton the most loving place on earth. I would ask you as commissioners to consider this, helping us with your influence to create a commission, a task force of people to come together and to talk about, from opposing views, to talk about this issue and to get to know one another and see if we all come up with the same conclusion. And if not, then we go on about our business. But I think the future is at stake here. The future, a loving future for this community, a place that we can use and show the world that this is a community that sought to dig into this and to truly put their best foot forward. You know, we've heard over and over again that the state statute keeps you all from being able to make a move on this, and that's true. I understand that. At least it seems as though it is. But I think the question should be not so much what we can't do, but what can we do? And maybe you all, using your influence as county commissioners, could put a commission together representing all those in the community, and let us sit down and let's talk. And let the chips fall where they may. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
That's all I have, Mr. Vice Chair.
Is there anybody here that would like to speak?
That's against the rules and policies.
What's that?
You can't ask somebody to come. They have to sign first.
I was just gonna give them the opportunity if there's somebody else here to speak, but there not being none. So I will now close the public meeting. Thank y'all for your input. Moving on to item number 9, consent agenda, presented by our county manager, Brian Steen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you have a consent agenda of 19 items, I believe it is. First is clerk reappointment of the Burke County Smart Start Partnership for Children. Number 2, clerk appointments to Regional Aging Advisory Committee. Item 3, clerk appointments removal to the Annual Advisory Board. Item 4, clerk appointment to Burke Senior Center Advisory Council. Item 5, clerk removal or seat modification to Planning Board. Item 6, fire marshal, contract for fire protection services for Nola Volunteer Fire Department, Incorporated, and Drowning Creek Volunteer Fire Department, Incorporated. Item 7, general services, phase 2, HVAC controls at the HRC building. Item 8, IT courthouse security camera project, approval of contract with Sage Security Solutions. Item 9, Jcpc, appointments and removal to the Jcpc. Item 10, Jcpc bylaws modification for review and funding applications. Item 11, sheriff contract for inmate medical services. Item 12, tax department tax collection report for July 2021. Item 13, tax department release refund report for July 2021. Item 14, tax department collections annual settlement report for the year 2020/2021. Item 15, tax department order to collect 2021 taxes. Item 16, tax department tax foreclosure report progress through June 2021. And item 17, the Killed in Action ownership and maintenance agreement for Veterans Memorial. That concludes your consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, that's really a bunch of them, and
That's-
17 of them. I would like to comment on item 8, that, and I know you should have gotten a copy of it, but for those security cameras, we did get a full year warranty at no additional charge instead of just 30 months. But I make the motion that we approve all 17 items as submitted.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. All those in favor of Commissioner Taylor's motion, state by the uplifted hand. 3-0, Madam Clerk. Okay. We do not have any items for decision tonight, so we're going to go straight to reports and comments, and we'll start with Margaret. Do you have anything you would like to say tonight?
No, sir, just real excited about Scott Black's award, and thank you for honoring him.
Absolutely. Our county attorney, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Since the last meeting of commissioners on July 20th, 2021, we put together an agreement concerning the Killed in Action monument, concerning ownership and maintenance with the veterans group that's responsible for it. We've worked with General Services to review a contract to replace HVAC that you approved tonight. We worked with the Sheriff's Office to review an inmate health care agreement with IMS Correctional Health Care that you approved tonight. We worked with IT to review the contract for replacement of security cameras at the courthouse with Sage Security Systems. We've been working with the Sheriff's Department and the State ALE Division concerning a nuisance case here in Burke County. We've been assisting the Sheriff's Department with news releases concerning administrative matters. We've been working with outside counsel and DSS counsel concerning ongoing actions. and we have reviewed the 2017 closed session minutes. Thank you.
Been busy. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
No comments, thank you.
Mr. Steen?
You got a little show and tell. Scott, if you could. That is a picture of the Killed in Action Monument after it had been set last week. Next. This is a picture of our County Commissioners Johnny Carswell, along with 4 others that were involved in the opioid lawsuit settlement, receiving the Commissioners of the Year award. And this is a picture of a dump truck, very similar to the one that this board authorized to be purchased in this year's budget. So that can move more than a wheelbarrow or 2 of dirt in a split second. But, anyways, that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Do we get to drive it?
Well, it's off-road, so you wouldn't have to have a license. It's just a matter of knowing how to make it work.
We do have a heavy equipment simulator at the college now, so we could, as commissioners, go take a special class over there. Maybe we could get our license to drive it. So anyway, thank you, Brian. Commissioner Abley?
No comment, thank you.
Commissioner Taylor?
Mr. Chairman, I have a whole lot to say, but I'll keep it short. First of all, I just love all of you this much. The response when I was in the hospital, getting stents put in my heart. And I just want to thank you for all the cards, letters, flowers, meals. We got enough food to feed an army almost at the house over the last week or so. The visits and the comments back and forth, I really appreciate it. There's not enough words in the English language to describe how one feels when he's been blessed by so many people that much. So, thank you. May you never have to go through it, but may God bless you and keep you in good health. Thank you.
And I will speak on behalf of the board and the staff that we're so glad to have you back on the, you look 100%, maybe you're not yet, but we're glad to have you back, and I'm glad the good Lord was looking out for you. So glad to have you back. I'd also like to say we mentioned Johnny's award. That was the, Mr. Carswell got the, he and just 4 other commissioners got the M.H. Jack Brock Outstanding County Commissioner Award, which is for participating in the recognition of their service on the opioid 555 committee, which took up a lot of time and effort. Commissioner Carswell spends a lot of time at the state level, behind the scenes that you don't see here in the county. So I'm proud of the job he's done down there, and we'll keep him and his family in our thoughts and prayers. And also, I would like to say, we did have a great time at the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. Because of the health situation. Commissioner Taylor, when I called him, the first thing he said was, I don't want to miss the meeting, but under doctor's orders, he was not allowed to go. But we had 4 days of meetings in Wilmington this past week. Commissioner Abley and I, and Commissioner Britton, and Commissioner Carswell. So learned a lot of things that we can utilize here in the county, and we just appreciate the opportunity to represent y'all at the amongst our colleagues at the state. So that's pretty much my report. I do want to say, when you're out there, please don't litter. You know, we always remind everyone, if you see litter, please pick it up. And if you're driving down the road with things in the back of your truck, please secure your load. I'd also ask everyone to adopt a pet from Animal Services. You saw that beautiful little puppy. I hope it's probably already adopted. That thing was cute. So please adopt a pet from Animal Service, and please spay and neuter your pets. I would also just urge everyone that can, health-wise, consult your doctor, but get a vaccination if you're able to do so. That is the most effective way to curb this pandemic, so I would encourage you to do that. And the next item I would say too, our next upcoming meeting is August 24th, 3 p.m. here at the Commissioners' Meeting Room. And also got one last wish. Mr. Steen, I won't tell everybody how old you're going to be. I'll leave that up to you. But you got a birthday, actually, in 2 days, and it's easy to remember because it's my wife's birthday. So y'all share a birthday. So happy birthday, my friend.
Well, thank you, and as you know, she and I also share the same alma mater for our undergraduate degree.
Now, she did tell me you were 10 years older.
That could be true.
All right, well, our next item is item number 12, vacancy announcement, and I'll turn it over to our clerk, Kate.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, citizens. We have the following opportunities for citizens to get involved in county boards and committees. The Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, Animal Advisory Board, Council on Aging, Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, City of Morganton Board of Adjustment and Planning Board for the ETJ, Burke Senior Center Advisory Council, Recreation Commission, Child Protection and Child Fatality Prevention Team, East Burke Senior Center Advisory Board, the Board of Health, and the Regional Aging Advisory Committee.
Thank you very much, and as all of you have seen, we've got plenty of opportunities for the public to participate. I get questions about how the people learn to participate in on the public forum, or there's 10 or 12 ideas right there, so please sign up. We could use your help. Tonight, there is a need for closed session, so we would need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A1, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Abley. All those in favor of going into closed session, please raise your right hand. Motion carried, and we'll take a quick 2-minute break before we adjourn in the back room. Okay. We did receive a proper motion to come out of closed session. That was made and passed. Also, the closed session meeting minutes were approved as presented, and that NCGS 143-1318.10E allows the minutes of closed sessions to be withheld from public inspection, so long as public inspection would frustrate the purpose of a closed session. So at this moment, gentlemen, we need a motion to adjourn. Oh. What was that? Recess. Right, no, motion to recess to 3 p.m., I'm sorry, on August 24th, 2021. Good catch. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies.